couldn't do anything about the fact that I was born poor, but I could certainly do everything within my power to make sure that I didn't die poor. Hey guys, what were you doing financially in the year 2000? Let me know in the comments below how your finances were looking back in the year 2000, because I'm going to tell you on this video how mine were. As for me guys, at the age of 30 in the year 2000, I was a college graduate. I was 30 years old, had been working as a teacher for about 5 or 6 years. I had a negative $30,000 net worth to my name. I had $10,000 in my retirement account from my job's retirement system, and I owned a car that was worth about $10,000. So I had about $20,000 in assets in the year 2000. But in terms of liabilities, I owed $25,000 in student loans in the year 2000. And I owed about $15,000 on my car. Yeah, I was upside down in the car that I owned. And I also had about $10,000 of medical bills that I owed. I had $20,000 in assets and I had $50,000 in liabilities. So I had a negative $30,000 net worth to my name in the year 2000. So yeah, I was a grown 30-year-old man in America that was poor and had a negative net worth. But here's what I learned, and I learned it fairly quickly. My financial life is based on my financial decisions. My financial life is based on my financial choices. And my financial future was going to be based primarily on the decisions that I was going to make with my finances from here on out. I had to come to that conclusion early on. Around the year 2000 is when I came to that conclusion. Hey, I told myself this, guys. I couldn't help the fact that I was born poor and born in a situation where I was poorer than most people. Look, I've been on welfare. I've been on food stamps, right? But I also watched my mother in her 40s go back to school to earn her college degree to make life better for herself. So I know what poor looks like, right? From the inside. But I also know what taking personal responsibility over your life looks like also. So I quickly learned, guys, that I couldn't do anything about the fact that I was born poor. Couldn't do nothing about it. But I could certainly do everything within my power to make sure that I didn't die poor, right? I could make sure that my kids didn't grow up poor. So I had to come to those type of really serious realizations, right? At the very beginning of my whole financial journey in the year 2000. When I learned that my financial life was going to be up to me, that was sort of a bitter pill to swallow, guys, right? But at the same time, it was also a very sweet pill to swallow as well. Because on one hand, it meant that, hey, I was personally responsible for where I was at the age of 30 with no money. That was my fault. But it also meant that, thank God, right, I had the power to actually turn my situation around. And that was the good thing, right? Because now I could change it all if I just made the right decisions with money. I had to really have these type of conversations with myself in order to start to change where I was with my money. So how did I get there in the first place? How did I wind up being a 30-year-old grown man in America who was broke, who had a negative $30,000 net worth? Let me share these 4 things with you guys that actually got me to that point, okay? The first thing is this. I was simply doing what other people around me were doing. I wasn't thinking about it. I wasn't putting any thought to actually doing something different or trying to do something different. I just went along and did what I was taught to do with money as a young person growing up. And then I saw everybody around me doing these things. So I just kept doing what I saw. Kept doing what I thought I knew was the way to do and the way to handle money. Just repeating the bad habits that I had acquired up until the age of 30, right? I had made no concerted effort to actually change. I was just sort of going along in life, waiting for things to happen with money and waiting to be reactive with my money instead of learning and understanding how to be proactive with my money. I had to learn quickly, guys, that if I wanted something different with my money, I had to start doing different things with my money. Guys, if you get value from this video, please smash the like button below. And please consider subscribing to this channel if you're not already a subscriber. And also, don't forget to share this video with your friends and your family. Now, the second thing that really had me broke at the age of 30 as an adult was I had this notion, I had this thought that college was everything, the education degree that I got from college, because I had a degree. I got my degree when I was 24 years old. So I was a teacher up until I was about 31 years old. So I had this notion, this idea that college was it. College was everything. Once I got that college degree, the money would start rolling in. I didn't realize that while my education was important and my education was good, I had to actually have the right habits with money in order to actually have more money. Because ultimately, the habits matter more than the education. The habits matter more than my income. I never really realized that, guys, but I had to come to that realization that, hey, I had to get some better habits with money no matter how much money that I earned. No matter how many college degrees I have, none of that matters if I don't manage the money well. So it's the habits that pave the way to having more money. Ultimately, I had to really come to that realization, right? My thinking was off. I was just thinking wrong. Now, the third thing that kept me or brought me to the point of being a grown 30-year-old broke man in America was simply, guys, I had no new information. I didn't know what I didn't know. I had to learn that if I wanted to know something, I had to go out and seek it. I had to go find what I needed to know to get to that next level or to get what I really wanted. I couldn't wait on other people to teach me. I couldn't wait on anybody else to show me. I couldn't wait on other people to come up with a solution to my problem in terms of what I needed, the information I needed. I had to go out there and get it. I had to go find it because, guys, I started with no information. All I started with was some ambition, right? And some ideas and some goals. That's what I started with. I didn't start with any money. I didn't start with any information. I didn't start with any direction. I didn't start with anybody guiding me. I had to go find what I needed. Self-study, self-learning, self-education. And when I say find it, I mean you had to go find it back then, right? There was no internet in my hand. There was no social media. There was no library right in my fingertips in a cell phone. I had to go to the library and read books. I had to go downtown to the city to look up properties, right? I had to actually go find what I needed. I had to join the landlord association. I had to join up with other people who had information. I couldn't just connect with them online. Back then, I had to go get it. And so you had to be ambitious back then, guys. You had to be willing to take some steps, willing to go out on a limb, right? Willing to punch that fear right in the face and go get what you needed. And that's what I had to do in order to learn. I had to take those risks. Risk of failure, the risk that somebody would say no, the risk that I might get turned down, the risk that, hey, I might not do well in this area, I might do poorly in this area, I might fail here and there, I might be ignorant about this certain thing or item. I have to go get some information so I'm no longer ignorant and not be scared to get it, scared to speak up, scared to make that move. I had to take a chance, many chances. And ultimately, guys, I had to go learn what I needed to learn to get what I needed to get. Guys, I partnered with Mint Mobile on this video. Look, everybody's walking around with one of these in their hands. We all have a cell phone. So we might as well shop around and get the best service as possible and pay less for it. So because of that, you might consider getting Mint Mobile. At Mint Mobile, they have premium wireless plans without sacrificing speed, coverage, or data. At Mint Mobile, they're able to keep the costs low because they cut out the overhead of salespeople and retail stores. And they pass that savings on to us. It's just another way of saving you money, which is really what this YouTube channel is all about. Mint Mobile is safe and it's reliable and it's built on the world's largest 5G network. So click on the link in the description box below if you're interested in the best value in wireless that's out there. Now, let's get back to the video. Now, the fourth thing that led me to being a grown, broke dude right here in America is that simply, guys, I didn't have any assets. And I didn't know how to go about accumulating any assets. I didn't even really have a concept that I could own assets, right? I had to develop that belief in my head. See, I didn't come from a situation where my parents owned a home. I grew up in apartments, small houses that were rented all my life until I was 30 years old. I was renting an apartment when I was 30 years old, still. Right? Had no concept that I could actually own a home. Now, I began to believe it late in the 1990s when I started doing my research to buy some real estate, but I had never owned any real estate. I had never lived in a home owned by anybody I knew. Nobody, right? Didn't have that blueprint in front of me. I just had some ideas that I could maybe do it. But guys, I had to start believing that I could do some things differently than how I was brought up or taught. But I had to start where I was at without worrying about what I didn't have or what other people had. And I had to figure out how was I going to start to accumulate some of these assets that I had been reading about. How was I going to accumulate some of these homes, real estate that I had been reading about? See, I didn't really understand that in order to play the game of capitalism, I had to have some capital. I had to have some investments. I had to have some cash. I had to have some real estate, right? Some capital so I could play in the game of capitalism and not just be the pawn in the game of capitalism who everybody who owns capitalism is using to help them accumulate more and more capital. I had to be the one who was accumulating more and more capital. That's how I had to play the game. That's what I began to think about in the year 2000. And that had to include some of the other things that are important to actually gain some wealth and have some capital. I had to start thinking about other tools like knowledge, more information, plans like my goals and visions, right? Discipline, consistency, right? What's this going to look like on paper, but what's it going to look like in terms of action steps? How am I going to be taking the action? I had to think about all this stuff, guys, because I wanted to play in the game of capitalism. I had to learn and know what I needed in terms of capital to participate in that game. So there I was, guys, the year 2000, starting off brand new. No internet, no social media, only library books, dreams, some infomercials, and a notebook, a pen, and some paper. That's about it. But hey, that's how I came to the point of being a 30-year-old grown man in America. And I'm not ashamed to say, hey, I didn't have anything. I was just grown and broke with nothing but a college degree and a negative $30,000 net worth to my name. From there, that's where I began to build. And thankfully, with God's mercy and God's grace, I can be sitting here right in front of you today, 24 years later, sharing my story with you in hopes that it will motivate you, it can encourage you, or at the very least, inspire you to change your situation in terms of your personal finances. If you got anything at all out of this video, do me a favor and smash the like button for me. Also, please share this video with somebody who you know who could use this information. And if you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing to my channel. I really would appreciate it. Hey, listen, the best person who's going to take care of that old you is the young you. Guys, do me a favor, take good care of yourself and take care of other people. Until the next video, peace!